Right, so Jonathan Gullis, the Tory stinker from Stoke. The best description I've heard made of him, though, was calling him a shaved baboon that looks like he was dragged backwards through Topman, though given what passes for political discourse emanating from him, I'd suggest upside down and back to front through Topman would be more accurate, since he appears to be spending his hopefully short stint in Parliament talking out of his glow-in-the-dark red baboon backside. He's part of a new faction that has sprung up within the Tory Party, though, calling themselves, imaginatively, the New Conservatives. But they're about as new as Jacob Rees Mogg is down with the kids. What they mean by it is they're chiefly a bloc of red wall Tory MPs elected at the last election and probably amongst the most likely Tories to lose their seats again at the next one, having won them on the basis of Brexit. Holding them, given what a pig's ear the Tories have made of that, holding them looks pretty unlikely. And actually, that demonstrates a problem for the Tories, given, and this particular faction, given they're the political equivalent of lemmings on the edge of a cliff waiting to jump. Their political careers are probably almost over. On the other hand, I'm sure they would argue that if Rishi Sunak and Co in their cosy, safe, true blue Tory safe seats want any chance of holding the red wall, then they ought to listen to them a bit more. But then we remind ourselves the one speaking right now is Gullis, and the idea of anyone taking him seriously should have us all letting ourselves laughing, and what he's come out with this time ought to do just that, whilst flipping the bird to him at the same time for what he thinks is a good idea. You see, Gullis is now of the view that university is a luxury that should be reserved for high achievers, and not something that ought to be accessible to everyone. Instead, there should be greater emphasis on apprenticeships, he says. Now, I have no beef with apprenticeships at all. I did one at 16. Got a trade under me belt, as me old man would say. Proud he was, tear in the eye when I brought home those indentures. But I'm also reminded that I secured one of 11 places where there were some 800 applicants for them. We're back in the John Major years, I should add, for context, 1995 as it was. But the thing is, although numbers of places for apprenticeships have fluctuated over the years, they've always been competitive to secure. They aren't accessible to all. There isn't one ready-made for anyone, or everyone even, to just walk into, because there simply are not enough places, never have been in them. They're run by businesses, after all. There are government incentives for them to do so, but many will have been affected by economic upheaval in no small part caused by this government in one way or another. Brexit has hit many adversely, with all the additional red tape they've now got to endure. The cost of living crisis has meant less money being spent in the economy, which drives the economy, so businesses are investing less, including in training new staff or skilled workers, or indeed taking on apprentices. Austerity has also hammered the economy, as we all have less to go around, and so we spend less too, and we've seen numerous businesses not just unable to invest, but are unable to continue trading. And although the obvious first thought when we talk about such things in this context of the high street, there are indeed apprenticeships in retail, but equally industry has been hit. Look at how many times Tata Steel have tried to get out and the government has instead bailed them out and pleaded with them to stay. Look at car manufacture. These industries offer apprenticeships too, but when they're struggling, how many places will they have, if any, to offer? They won't be increasing, will they? Not unless significant government incentivisation comes in. And kids doing them these days also are paid peanuts to do them too. So great idea, more apprenticeships. I have no argument with that. But for one, not everyone wants to go down that route. Some have dreams of taking on a professional career rather than a skilled trade. And for two, given how you've been trashing the country for some 13 years, where are they going to come from? What I do have issue with the odious Gullis' suggestion that he's driving for, these calls for apprenticeships, are at the expense of university places, because a luxury, he calls them. Well, they must be if you got through with a degree, eh, sunshine? I still can't get over the fact this guy was himself a teacher. What kind of teacher was he? I wonder if anybody who's watching this ever had him as a teacher. I'd love to get your feedback on him, especially with his views on university now as he's got. But essentially, he doesn't think low achievers, how do you measure that, should be able to go, and he wants to do away with so-called Mickey Mouse degrees. On the first point, it's very grammar school sounding, isn't it? Only the best go forward. Those who don't score highly enough can go flip burgers or sweep the streets for the rest of their lives, do something we can look down on. You have to appreciate the amount of work that goes on in schools with children with special educational needs. It's the first one that comes to my mind. The goal is for them to do well in school and go on to do other things, better things, to be able to live their lives and get the best out of their education. Other children benefit more from coursework-based learning rather than tons and tons of exams. These children will be left behind by a purely academia-driven education system as the Tories have put in place. And if Gullis were to get what he wants, only the best should go to university. He calls it a luxury. They already get 14 years of free education. How dare they want more? Doing his best Mr. Bumble impression, puffing his chest out and going red at the same time. Baboon's backside as he is, and speaking just as much sense out of it. How much debt would these kids then be in? Student loan repayments have already just been made harsher, now repayable over 40 years instead of 30. So kids taking degrees from this year, such as my own son, face appalling levels of debt, and they might only repay them after they start earning £25,000. But with the need for more and more money to just get by, as we seem to see year on year, incomes having to rise year on year as everything keeps getting more expensive, surely that £25,000 goal is going to be reached in the near future in all likelihood by the vast majority of earners. And then it's a 9% tax effectively on all incomes above that. Another regressive tax when people won't have enough to live on as it is, and all because they chose to go to university. I guarantee they won't shift that repayment threshold if that comes to pass. It's not just the kids coming under attack with Tory MPs champing at the bit to deny them the chance of going to uni, though. They're also attacking the unis themselves for taking advantage of the children by encouraging kids to take on degrees that offer nothing for them in the future, in their view, and saying they give the taxpayer poor value for money when kids take up a creative or a performing arts degree. So that's now unimportant, is it? Mickey Mouse degrees, are they? A lot of people would argue differently. Besides, universities place a great deal of emphasis on employability these days, and not just working in the student bar or at Subway while studying, but afterwards too. Also, the end result piece of paper isn't the whole of the benefit from the university experience either. There is learning to live away from home for the first time, independence in both how you live your day-to-day lives, how you manage money, building confidence in doing that, and so much more. My boy going up this year is heading to Plymouth. No, he's not doing politics, in case anybody asks. People have asked me before about this when I brought it up. Though he would rinse a political gibbon like Gullis. He's doing acting, which no doubt would send Gullis into an apoplectic rage. But he's had to work incredibly hard, not just to get the marks to get on that course, but he's had to go through rounds of auditions to do so too. It is not a course kids just walk into. No degree is. The same goes for any creative study, of course. You have to demonstrate some aptitude for it for the university to offer you a place. They can place conditions on it. A pity Gullis didn't have to demonstrate some aptitude for politics before the Tories put him up for their candidate in Stoke. But then they're as lacking in talent as they are in empathy and morals. Gullis and his Red Wall faction want to block low achievers from obtaining student loans. Someone could be the next Picasso, but can't pass maths for love nor money. He wants to slash university places by 15% and demand more apprenticeships, which have to come from somewhere, but there's no answer for that forthcoming from him either. It's a scapegoating, blame gaming. Someone has to be at fault for things going wrong. Can't be the Tories. They've only been in power for 13 years. Clearly, therefore, they're still undoing all the damage the last Labour government created. These rancid right-wingers are actually the biggest whinging snowflakes going because they always have to blame something to excuse other stuff going wrong. It's never their fault. But when they're so stupid, like Jonathan Gullis apparently is, to be blaming in part his own boss, Sunak, though, there's no benefit politically for them at all. It won't be Sunak losing his seat anytime soon, as safe as he is in his. It is Gullis, you absolute dunce, that's going to be losing yours. Whenever Gullis thinks of the employability prospects for uni grads on courses he doesn't like, he should spend far more time concerning himself with what he'll be doing after he loses his own seat to come the next election, because that's the only reality in anything coming out of this story. And we will all celebrate this Burke in particular, getting marked down, giving a big F for fail, and packing his bags for home. What do you think, though? Does Gullis have a point? Are there some degrees you see as worthless? And how would you justify that? Is it up to the child to do what is best for them, their interests, their creative talents, or academic talents if they go down that road? And that's the sort of course they're doing. Did you go to uni, and what benefits did you come away with aside from hopefully graduating? What else did you learn from your experience there? Do have a chat to me in the comments about it. I'd love to hear all. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content out daily. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation for you where Perhaps it shouldn't surprise us that Gullis thinks so little of, in his words, underachieving kids. He showed he couldn't care less about migrant children disappearing from detention centres either back in January by saying it was their own fault they disappeared because they came here. I remind you all, this guy was a teacher with a duty of care for kids before becoming an MP. I sincerely hope he never becomes one again with an attitude like his. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.